Oh, so you're interested.
Purer than flesh, stronger than bone, imperishable is the essence of the Wraith.
Hey, what's going on, Ross? Whippy here. Thank you for taking the time to read my little guide that I made for you. I said I was going to go into a bit more detail in regards to the items and things. I'm not good at sitting down and spending ages writing things. I get really bored. I thought it would be fun to put together a little bit of a video just to showcase some bits and bobs for you. So to start off with, I didn't really touch on the abilities that Wraith King has, so I'll give you a quick overview of what those do. His Q, his first ability, which is essentially his only real active ability that you'll be using actively. It's a single target point and click stun. It stuns to start off with, and then it slows afterwards, kind of like a Cho'Gath Q. On top of that, it also provides a dot, which will tick once every second for, I believe, around about 3 seconds. Does roughly around about 300-400 damage at max level. Following on from that, your W will give you, and only you, as far as I'm aware, passive lifesteal. So every time that you auto attack somebody, you'll be healing for it. And activating your W is what you saw when you went through and you summoned all your skelly boys. They're a little bit weird. They pretty much just like and like target on straight to the first closest hostile creature that they can see, and they will just beeline it for that guy. If you Q somebody from that, that will cause them to go through and focus that guy. You want to wait until you've got maximum stacks of them, and then you want to summon them with your W, and then you want to Q somebody, and then that will just basically add a little bit of extra damage. It's nothing major, unless you go the huge skelly build, which is... it's one of my personal favorites, but it's a meme build and you're just starting off, so we'll touch on the mathematically correct builds a little bit later. This is an integral build, okay? Following that, your E is essentially a guaranteed critical strike with increased critical strike damage, which only occurs once every couple of seconds. If this ability is showing that it's off cooldown, then the next auto attack that you're going to do is going to be a big boy overhead swing, and you're gonna crack a skull. This is really good for just like knowing when your damage is coming out, and it couples really well with Echo Saber, which I'll touch on in a moment. And then his ulti, you already know what it is. It's probably one of the simplest abilities in the game. You die, you come back to life. There are some little added bits and bobs with it. As soon as you die, if your ulti is procced, you will slow everyone down in a huge radius around you, and it's something like an 80% slow or something. I'll pop all the numbers up on the side here, like, wow, look at the numbers. So it will slow everybody down. There is a talent that you can get at level 25, which will go through, and instead of slowing everybody down, it will actually cast Wraith Fire Blast on all nearby enemy heroes, which is really, really good in a pinch. So yeah, that's basically all of Wraith King's abilities and what they do. What we're going to focus on next is the actual build that I provided you. So you went through the slideshow, I'm hoping. If you found this video without reading the slideshow, how? The build that I provided you is, at its core, a build where we're trying to reduce the number of buttons that you have to remember to push, which I knew that when I was growing up and learning how to play Dota was probably one of the hardest things, and still one of the things that I struggle with today. So, to begin with, your boots. So we're building power treads in this game. What power treads do, they are essentially boots that give you a little bit of attack speed, and they will also give you plus 10 to 1 ability of your choice. So you can literally hit the button as many times as you want, and you'll switch from red to green to blue to red to green to blue to red to green to blue. I think that's the order, I can't quite remember. Red obviously being indicative of strength, green being agility, and blue being intelligence, which are your 3 main stats in the game. What we're going to do essentially is, I'm just telling you, switch it to red, you get plus 10 strength, it's an extra couple of hundred worth of HP, a little bit more damage because you're a strength-based character, and that's around about it. We don't really need to worry about them. If you're feeling super spicy and you want to push some extra buttons, what you can do is, if you're going to die, and you know you're going to die, what you can do is you can actually switch your boots from red to blue, which will give you increased intelligence. What that will do is it'll give you a small buff to your mana pool, which I believe ends up being around about 170 mana. As long as you switch over to blue boots before you die, your ulti will always proc unless somebody takes away that mana in the split second before you die. Not something that's super important, but it's always good to keep in your back pocket in case you're feeling spicy. The next item on the list is Echo Saber. Now, Echo Saber has always really been a personal favorite of mine ever since they introduced it to the game. What it essentially just does is it makes the life of a melee character a little bit easier. What this item essentially does is it gives you 2 really quick auto attacks in succession. So if you auto attack somebody while this item is off cooldown, you will almost immediately auto attack a second time, and the first auto attack provides a 95% slow for like half a second so that you can get your second auto attack off. All it will essentially do is it makes farming easier because you essentially attack twice very quickly. If you can get your hands on a ranged character who is very slippery, you can hit them twice and then it'll just guarantee that you get that damage off. Really, really good on Wraith King in a pinch. It'll help you farm, it'll help you go through and deal some more damage, and if your crit is in the process of coming off cooldown as you're auto attacking, it'll help you get that critical hit off. Following that, the most expensive item in the build, or the second most expensive item in the build, Sange and Yasha. Sange and Yasha are iconic items in the game. You probably remember them from Dota All-Stars, if you remember your Dota All-Stars days. Sange and Yasha are essentially auto-attack items. Sange gives you a little bit of strength, Yasha gives you a little bit of agility. Sange gives you the ability to heal a little bit more, like all of your healing is kind of amplified, sort of like how Spirit Visage does it for you in League. Yasha will give you a little bit of increased movement speed and increased attack speed. I believe that's another stat for Sange. I think it's reduced crowd control effects, I think, maybe? But essentially these 2 items come together, they give you a little bit of attack speed, a little bit of movement speed, and your W will heal you more and you'll deal a bit more damage because you're hitting with your Sange. So that's really good. It's good in a pinch. It's expensive, but if you would like, you can just build Sange, which is the red blade, and then you can leave it until later in the game and you can just move on to your next item. Sange is the pivotal point of it, and then it can be upgraded into Sange and Yasha later in the game. It doesn't really matter if you want to do that or not. It's completely up to you. If you just want to stick to the build order, like building Sange and Yasha up after Echo Saber is a really good pick regardless. Following that one, Black King Bar. So you are probably acquainted with this item after your first game where that Earthshaker told you to build Black King Bar probably about 15 times. Black King Bar is probably one of the most essential items in the game for characters like Wraith King. Wraith King really struggles with any sort of character that has a large number of CC because he has no way of getting rid of it and he has no way of avoiding it most of the time. What Black King Bar does is it essentially makes you more or less spell immune for quite a while. Dota is a complicated game. Spell immune in this game does not mean completely spell immune. There are so many things that will still manage to hit you through Black King Bar and will still manage to stun you, but it cuts out a good 50% of just the regular Joe Blow QW and E stuns that aren't like ultimate stuns. So really worthwhile. It'll help you avoid things like Lion's Q or Earthshaker's Q. If Earthshaker was an enemy, you probably would have been hit by that. It avoids like a lot of magic damage, like anti-mage's auto attacks won't burn your mana through it. Things of that nature. The next item that I've got in the build order is Desolator. Desolator is another attack damage item. All this Desolator really does, it gives you increased attack damage, and it'll give you armor shred when you're auto attacking people. So that's really good for the fact that you build Echo Saber to get 2 auto attacks off really quickly. It's really good for your crit as well. It will actually apply the armor debuff before it applies the damage as well. So the very first attack, if it is a crit, will deal more damage just based on the fact that you've built Desolator. And last but not least, we have Assault Cuirass. Assault Cuirass is also like a really good tanky bruiser damage item slash tanker item slash all-in-one fiasco. What it will essentially do is it provides you with good chunk of armor, attack speed, and also provides you with an aura that will decrease all enemies' attack speed and armor. Is that what it does? Hang on. Maybe I'm talking out my arse. I was right. I knew that I hadn't forgotten everything. So yeah, it will give you increased attack speed and increased armor, while also decreasing the armor and the attack speed of other units and buildings around you. It builds out of a lot of items that can be helpful for you early as well. Like if you want to build the buckler like pretty early, you can just spam that all the time because it costs like 10 mana to use. Items cost mana in this game, by the way, some of them. God, this game's complicated. The reason that I've made the two, both BKB and Assault Cuirass, interchangeable, as I touched on in the guide, if you're fighting against a team who has a lot of CC that's really messing with you, you can use BKB, and you can purchase BKB early. If you're running into a large number of auto attackers, like your Phantom Dancers and your Phantom Assassins, and your Rickies, Slark, things like that, Assault Cuirass is good because it gives you increased armor, so you take less physical damage, and it'll also help you do more damage while you're at it. So yeah, that's essentially the video or the little guide that I made for you. I'm more than happy for you to use like all of this content that I've generated for free, completely of your own accord. I have no qualms with that. I'm doing it completely for the goodness of my own heart and for no ulterior motives whatsoever.